The first time Ethan saw Olivia, she was standing alone in a crowded bookstore in Chicago. Rain tapped softly against the glass windows while dozens of people moved around her, but somehow she looked completely lost in her own world. She held a novel close to her chest and smiled as she read the last page. Ethan didn't know why he kept looking at her. Maybe it was her smile. Maybe it was the sadness hidden behind her eyes. As he walked past, Olivia accidentally dropped a photograph from her book. Ethan picked it up before it touched the floor. "You dropped this," he said. Olivia turned and smiled. "Thank you." For a moment, neither of them spoke. It was strange, as if time had slowed down around them. "I'm Ethan, Olivia." That simple introduction became the beginning of a story neither of them expected. Over the following weeks, they kept running into each other. Sometimes at the bookstore, sometimes at a nearby coffee shop. Eventually, Ethan gathered enough courage to ask her out. To his surprise, she said yes. Their first date lasted 6 hours. They talked about everything: childhood memories, favorite movies, dreams, fears, and places they wanted to visit someday. For the first time in years, Ethan felt understood. For the first time in years, Olivia felt safe. As months passed, their love grew deeper. Every morning Ethan sent her a message. Every night they fell asleep talking on the phone. When Olivia was sad, Ethan knew exactly how to make her smile. When Ethan doubted himself, Olivia reminded him of his worth. They became each other's home. One winter evening, snow covered the city streets in white. Ethan took Olivia to the place where they first met. The bookstore looked exactly the same. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. Olivia's eyes filled with tears. "Ethan, I don't promise a perfect life," he said softly. "I don't promise there won't be hard days. But I promise I'll love you through every one of them." Then he opened the box. Inside was a beautiful ring. Olivia couldn't stop crying. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes." That night they held each other beneath the falling snow while strangers passed by without knowing they were witnessing the happiest moment of two lives. A year later they were married. The wedding wasn't luxurious. There were no famous guests. No expensive decorations. Just family, friends, and two people deeply in love. For a while, life felt perfect. They bought a small house. Adopted a golden retriever named Max. Filled their home with laughter and dreams. Then everything changed. One afternoon Olivia received a phone call from her doctor. The news shattered her world. She had a serious heart condition. The doctors couldn't predict how quickly it would progress. Some patients lived for many years. Others didn't. Olivia sat in her car and cried until sunset. She wasn't afraid for herself. She was afraid for Ethan. That evening she tried to act normal. But Ethan noticed immediately. "What happened?" he asked. "Nothing, Olivia." She broke down in tears. Hours later she finally told him the truth. Ethan listened silently. Then he pulled her into his arms. "We'll face it together." Olivia cried against his chest. "What if I don't get better?" "You will." "What if I don't?" Ethan kissed her forehead. "Then I'll love you every single day we have." The following months were difficult. Hospital visits became routine. Medications covered kitchen counters. Some days Olivia felt strong. Other days she could barely get out of bed. Through it all, Ethan never left her side. He learned every medication schedule. Every symptom, every fear, every silent tear she tried to hide. One night Olivia woke up and found Ethan sitting beside her bed. He thought she was asleep. In his hands was a notebook. She watched him write. When he left the room, curiosity made her open it. The first page read, "Things I love about Olivia." There were hundreds of entries. The way she laughs at bad jokes. The way she dances while cooking. The way she always helps strangers. The way she squeezes my hand when she's nervous. The way she makes every place feel like home. Olivia cried for hours, not because she was sad, because she had never felt so loved. Years passed. Against expectations, Olivia continued fighting. Their love became stronger than ever. But life had one more challenge waiting. Ethan began experiencing severe headaches. At first he ignored them. Then they became worse. Eventually doctors discovered a brain tumor. This time it was Olivia who sat beside a hospital bed. This time it was Ethan who tried to smile through fear. The roles had reversed, yet their love remained unchanged. One evening Ethan looked at her. "If something happens to me." "No, please listen." Tears rolled down Olivia's face. "I don't want to. You gave me the happiest life I could have imagined." Olivia held his hand tightly. "Don't talk like this." Ethan smiled weakly. "I met thousands of people in my life. but only one became my reason to wake up every morning. Olivia rested her forehead against his. In your mind. For months they fought together. But the tumor continued growing. Doctors did everything they could. Family prayed. Friends hoped. Yet deep inside, both Ethan and Olivia knew the truth. One morning Ethan asked to go home. He wanted to spend his remaining time in the house they had built together. The house filled with memories. The house where they had laughed, cried, dreamed, loved. One quiet evening they sat on the porch watching the sunset. Orange light painted the sky. Max lay sleeping beside them. Ethan squeezed Olivia's hand. Remember the bookstore? Olivia smiled through tears. Of course. Best day of my life. She shook her head. No. The best day of my life. For a long moment they watched the horizon. Then Ethan whispered something she would never forget. In every lifetime, I'd choose you again. Olivia couldn't speak. She simply rested her head on his shoulder. A few days later, Ethan passed away peacefully. The world suddenly felt empty. Every room carried his memory. Every photograph brought tears. Every sunrise reminded her he was gone. Months passed. Then years. The pain never completely disappeared. But neither did the love. One rainy afternoon, Olivia returned to the bookstore where everything had started. She walked slowly between the shelves. The same scent of books filled the air. The same rain tapped against the windows. As she reached a corner shelf, she noticed something. A photograph hidden inside a novel. Her breath caught. It was the picture Ethan had picked up all those years ago. On the back was a note written in his handwriting. If you're reading this someday without me, remember one thing. Love doesn't end when someone leaves. Real love stays. It lives in memories, in laughter, in dreams, and in the heart forever. Thank you for being my greatest adventure. I love you, always. Tears streamed down Olivia's face. But for the first time in years, she smiled. Because she realized something beautiful. Death had taken Ethan's hand from hers. But it had never taken his love. And as the rain fell outside the bookstore where their story began, Olivia looked toward the sky and whispered, I'd choose you again too. And somewhere beyond the clouds, beyond time itself, their love story continued. Heart. Years after that rainy afternoon in the bookstore, Olivia continued living with the memories Ethan had left behind. His photographs still hung on the walls of their home. His favorite coffee mug remained in the kitchen cabinet. Even Max, now old and slow, still waited near the front door every evening as if expecting Ethan to walk in. Life moved forward, but Olivia's heart often stayed in the past. One spring morning, while cleaning the attic, she discovered a small wooden box she had never seen before. Dust covered the surface, and a note was attached to the top. It was Ethan's handwriting. With trembling hands, she opened it. Inside were dozens of sealed envelopes. On the first envelope were the words, "For the days you miss me the most." Tears instantly filled her eyes. She carefully opened it. Inside was a letter. My Olivia, if you're reading this, then I'm not beside you right now. I know there will be days when the house feels too quiet and the nights feel too long. On those days, I want you to remember something. You were my greatest blessing. You brought meaning to my life when I didn't even know what I was searching for. Please don't spend your life looking backward. Carry our memories with you, but keep walking forward. The world still has beautiful things waiting for you. Olivia pressed the letter against her chest and cried. Over the next few weeks, she opened more envelopes. Each one contained a message for a different moment in her life. One was labeled, "For when you feel lonely." Another said, "For your birthday." One simply read, "For a rainy day." It felt as though Ethan had somehow reached across time to comfort her. One afternoon, she opened an envelope marked, "For when you're ready to smile again." Inside was a short message. Go back to the cafe where we had our first date. Order your favorite coffee. Sit near the window. Watch people living their lives. Then smile, because that's exactly what I want you to keep doing. The next day, Olivia did exactly that. She sat in the same corner where she and Ethan once spent hours talking. For the first time in a very long while, she smiled without forcing it. As months passed, the letters slowly helped heal the broken parts of her heart. Then one day, another envelope changed everything. It was labeled, "For when you think life has ended." With curiosity, she opened it. Inside was a single sentence. Life doesn't end when love is lost, it begins again because love existed. Those words stayed with her. For years she had been surviving. Now she wanted to live. She started volunteering at a local community center. She helped children learn to read. She organized charity events. She made new friends. The sadness never completely disappeared, but it no longer controlled her. One evening, after a volunteer event, Olivia met a little girl named Emma. Emma had recently lost her mother and rarely spoke to anyone. Something about her reminded Olivia of herself. Over the following months, Olivia spent more time with the child. They read books together, shared stories, walked through parks. Slowly, Emma began smiling again. One day Emma asked a question. Do you ever stop missing someone you love? Olivia paused. Then she smiled gently. No, but you learn how to carry the love without carrying all the pain. Emma thought about that for a moment before hugging her. That simple hug touched Olivia's heart deeply. Years continued passing. Emma grew older. Olivia became an important part of her life. And without realizing it, Olivia had become the person Ethan always believed she could be, a source of light for others. On a beautiful summer afternoon, Olivia returned to the lakeside where she and Ethan once watched sunsets together. The water reflected the golden sky. The air was warm. She brought the final envelope from the wooden box, the only one she had never opened. Her hands shook as she looked at the words written across it. For the day you finally find peace. With a deep breath, she opened it. Inside was Ethan's last letter. My dearest Olivia, if you're reading this, then you've come further than you realize. You survived the hardest days. You faced the loneliness. You carried the grief. And yet, you're still here. I always knew you would be. Because you are stronger than you think. I don't want your life to be a monument to my absence. I want it to be a celebration of our love. When you laugh, I am part of that laughter. When you help someone, I am part of that kindness. When you watch a sunset, I am part of that beauty. Love never disappears. It simply changes form. Thank you for every moment you gave me. Thank you for choosing me. And if there is another life beyond this one, I will spend forever searching for you again. Until then, keep living. Keep smiling. Keep loving. Always yours, Ethan. By the time she reached the final word, tears covered her cheeks. But they were not tears of heartbreak. They were tears of gratitude. As the sun slowly disappeared beyond the horizon, Olivia looked up at the sky. For the first time in many years, she felt complete. Not because the pain was gone. Not because she had forgotten. But because she finally understood. True love never asks someone to stop living. True love gives them the strength to keep going. The wind moved gently across the lake. Olivia smiled, and somewhere in that golden sunset, she felt Ethan's presence once more. Not as a memory, not as a loss, but as a love that would remain with her forever. Heart.